Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Puregrip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
If you don't care about hype, you don't care about performance-enhancing technology, and you're just after a pair of football boots that are solid, comfortable, and available at a reasonable price, the boots inside this box might just be the very best of 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the brand new Adidas Copa Gloro 2, a no-nonsense leather football boot with, dare I say, old-school styling in a colorway that might remind you of a certain player at a retail price of $100. And it's just that simple. What you see is what you get, and at a quality standard that you probably wouldn't expect at this price point. With most iterations of the Gloro actually being pretty good, including the model that this one replaces. However, even at its lower price tag, I've never truly been able to say that I thought the Copa Gloro was the better pick over the $120 Nike Premier 2 or the $130 New Balance 442 version 2 Pro. That's not the case anymore, because for less money than the two boots that I mentioned, you can get something that is arguably just as good, if not better. Which is exactly what I want to talk about in today's video as we break down all the details of the Copa Gloro 2, take a look at how they fit and feel on feet, and ultimately determine where they rank amongst all the other value for money options in the world of football boots right now. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, and if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can pick these up in a wide variety of colorways right at launch below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And as always, if you enjoy the unsugar-coated, brutally honest reviews on this channel, don't forget to drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2024. So first things first, let's discuss what I think most people interested in this style of football boot will always want to know, and that is what type of leather have they used, and of course, how's the quality? Adidas have opted for a super soft, thicker than usual cow leather material for the Copa Gloro 2. The amount of leather that you get is also pretty nice in that you can see it spans basically from the front side of this Adidas stripe and then wraps all the way through the forefoot and toe box area, cutting off at the same point there on the opposite side, where everything from the stripes back is actually going to be a synthetic leather material, which might seem like a little bit of a disappointment, but it's actually a good thing in the sense that it still feels very soft, but it also adds a little bit of structure to the midfoot, making the boot feel more secure on your feet than if the entire thing was that natural leather material, where after some wear time, once the boots will inevitably stretch, which natural leather tends to do, they could end up feeling too sloppy. Not the case with these at all. And then of course you do get that old school fold over flap tongue. You might love it, you might hate it. I love the fact that the top side of it is a natural leather. I think that gives the boot a very premium feel, and from a touch perspective, at least in terms of grip on the ball, some nice consistency, although there's an argument to be made that the tongue itself just adds a ton of unnecessary bulk. But of course you do get that strap to hold it down, kind of like the Adidas Predator, kind of a nod back to classic football boots in general with this design, I would say. But you can see on the underside, they do include the little tracer line where if the tongue just isn't for you, just like the previous generation Copa Gloro, you do have the option to cut it off. The only disappointment I would say with this upper is that despite the fold over flap being natural leather, the actual main body of the tongue is made from the same synthetic material as the midfoot. Not that it feels bad, but I think a natural leather tongue would have been that little bit nicer in terms of feel. It's also worth mentioning that the general thickness of the upper, especially the leather part here in the forefoot, is just thicker and more padded than what we've typically seen from so many leather football boots these days. If we compare this to the higher end versions of the Copa Pure 2, this definitely is significantly more padded. I would say almost twice as thick, relating this a little bit more closely to a classic Copa Mundial rather than a modern Copa Pure. And again, if we're comparing this to its main competitors, the Nike Premier 3 as well as the New Balance 442, this is once again going to have a little bit more of a softer, more padded feel for the money, it's really tough to beat the softness and feel of this leather upper. No traditional football boot design would be complete without a central lacing system, a U-throat construction, and a standalone tongue. This, of course, has all of that, which does allow for great overall adjustability. Putting the boots on and taking them off is super simple, and with the laces tied tight, the upper has the ability to basically wrap any foot shape really nicely, and because you do get that leather in the forefoot in particular, it does stretch as you wear them in, forming to the exact shape of your feet, something that realistically any football boot could do, but nothing does it quite like a pair of leather boots. Moving to the rear, like the rest of the design, things have been kept super traditional, where the boots feature a pretty standard low-cut design. You have an internal plastic heel counter, a soft microfiber lining material, and a decent amount of padding that offers a nice balance of comfort as well as overall lockdown, so no complaints there whatsoever, again, especially considering the price point. Then the insole, fully removable, much higher quality than what you'll find from other Adidas boots at this price point. Basically a high-end pair of insoles where it's got this nice microfiber lining on the surface and it's made from a single layer of this white foam. It's certainly nothing special, but it is the same type of insole you would typically find on a $250+ football boot from Adidas. Moving to the base, you're going to find all new Soleplate tooling for this generation of Copa Gloro, where you have a pretty standard plastic sole plate with overall great flexibility through the forefoot, but still plenty of rigidity through the midfoot and heel. It's kind of a more traditional style of sole plate that just is designed to move nicely with your foot, something that I think works extremely well when you have a soft leather upper like this. So no major complaints from me there. It again feels much more premium than the price tag would suggest. And as far as the FG stud pattern is concerned, you're going to find all conical studs in the heel as well as the forefoot in basically what has become the standard Adidas layout. So realistically, if we're comparing this to other options that retail for $200+, it's the same layout as the Preds, it's the same layout as the Copas, and even the new F50s, where realistically, the F50s having conical studs in the main body of the forefoot, it's hard for me to suggest that this offers significantly worse traction than any of the more expensive options from Adidas. It is, of course, trending on the traditional side of things with these conical studs, really prioritizing that freedom to twist and pivot when your foot is planted. But in terms of just general bite when pushing off, this still feels nice and aggressive and provides the traction you would expect from a solid quality pair of football boots. It's not all perfect though, because if there was a knock against the Copa Gloro 2, it's the weight, which they're not heavy football boots, but they're maybe not as light as what I think a lot of people are used to. I thought it'd be fun to compare it to its main competitor in the Nike Premier 3, just to see exactly what the weight difference is, both in the same size 9.5 US. We'll start off with the Nikes, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.35 ounces, the equivalent of 265 grams. So obviously not the lightest football boots themselves, but certainly not heavy either. Then we'll throw on the Copas, and you can see that they weigh in at 10 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 284 grams, which is a weight difference of just about 20 grams in favor of the Nikes, which is noticeable on feet. There's no denying that, but is it really a deal breaker when it comes to the much softer leather upper that you get on the Copa Gloro 2? In my opinion, absolutely not. On feet, the Copa Gloro 2 can be described as soft and padded. It is a no-nonsense design using soft materials that just feel good. I think comfort is one of those things that people in a lot of ways have kind of lost sight of, especially in the age of all these thin textile-based synthetic materials. Not to say that they feel bad and not say that they can't be comfortable, but I think when you compare it to something as soft as this cow leather upper is, especially in the forefoot and toe box area, after some wear time, once it molds to your feet, this feels like you're wearing a pair of slippers rather than, I guess by comparison, something that feels a lot more restrictive in some of these thinner synthetic materials. Also, this boot really reminds me a lot of what the Copa Icon should have been, but at a lower price tag with materials that generally just feel higher quality. So again, for $100, I'm not sure we've ever had anything quite this good from the Adidas brand in quite some time. As far as the overall width is concerned, they have some decent width to them. They have some decent volume to them. I think the shallow fit through the heel that has plagued so many less expensive Adidas boots is not an issue here whatsoever. The lockdown through the heel, despite the slightly wider overall fit through the back half of the football boot, is not an issue whatsoever. I definitely think that if you're looking for that super locked in responsive sensation, these aren't necessarily going to be the best choice, but you probably already knew that just based on how they look. This is definitely prioritizing more so a little bit more of a relaxed, comfortable fit, but still wrapping your foot, of course, very, very closely. And then I would say because of the U-throat construction and central lacing system, they just have tons and tons of adjustability to them, where not only are they super easy to put on and take off, when you tie the laces tight, it's going to form to just about any foot shape, where even if you had really wide feet, I think after some break-in time, these are going to fit most people very, very comfortably. And then as far as sizing is concerned, because of the stretch that you're going to get from that cow leather in the forefoot, as well as just the base length of the sole plate, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and personally I would go true to size in another pair of these, but I think for somebody that maybe has a little bit of extra room in their boots currently, going down half a size to accommodate a little bit of stretch from the leather might not necessarily be a bad idea. So if you're currently wearing your boots really snug, true to size should be perfect in the Copa Gloro 2, but if you do have that little bit of extra room and you are thinking about these, I would recommend going down half a size to have the best possible fit after a little bit of break-in time. As it is though, even at what is technically a budget-friendly price point, depending on personal preference, there's an argument to be made that this is the most comfortable football boot currently on offer from the three stripes. So in conclusion, the Adidas Copa Gloro 2 is nothing short of impressive when it comes to the value for money that it brings to the table. Not only are they significantly cheaper than their main competitor, which you might argue the New Balance 442 version 2 Pro has a kangaroo leather upper rather than the cow leather of the Copa Gloro 2, but I'd make the argument that this cow leather upper is softer than both the 442 as well as what the Premier 3 have on offer. The fit of the boot is incredibly comfortable. The shape I think they've nailed in terms of giving you that traditional fit that's going to mold to the shape of your feet as you wear them in. The feel of the sole plate is fantastic, what you'd expect from a higher end product for sure, and the performance of the stud pattern is again top notch. Are they the lightest boots in the world? Absolutely not, but I think if you're looking for something that is solid, soft, comfortable with a premium feel in terms of touch on the ball, it is really, really hard to beat these for $100. If you've ever wanted to try a pair of leather football boots but didn't want to break the bank to do so, look no further than the Copa Gloro 2.